This is a special opening, so don't skip it. I've got some important announcements and a little explainer for the upcoming episode. There's no background music. This is important for you to hear. So, for the last several months, since early fall, I've been working on a new legal tech company with a former Google software developer. And we are letting people in now. We've sort of soft launched. So if you're hearing this, you're one of the first people to find out about it. It's called Practi, like practice, but it ends at the I. And you could click on the link in the show notes that says click here to use a platform that helps you with subscription billing for your law firm, or you could go to Practi.ai. But even if you're not ready for that, also a link in the show notes here to just sign up for the email newsletter. It's Practi.ai/hello. Or again, link to subscribe to that in the show notes if you're not ready. Even though it's free to sign up and free to sign up your first client through the platform, we're really trying to drive systemic change here, and you're one of the first people to hear about it. Also coming up is I will be launching a new podcast and newsletter for Practi called the AI Bill Apocalypse. So if you're listening to this show, you already know that AI is coming and it's making our work more efficient as lawyers, and you're already interested in alternative fee structures like the subscription model that's going to help you be more profitable. But this newsletter, while I think you'll get a lot of value from it because we're going to be covering news stories and my perspective on it that are being published, like the recent Wall Street Journal article by Rita Gunther McGrath titled Say Goodbye to the Billable Hour Thanks to AI, and it focuses on law firms. We'll be getting my perspective on things like that, and that might be super interesting to you if you're listening to Law Subscribed, but it will also be out there to really encourage and persuade the rest of the legal profession that hasn't fully come on board like you have yet. I'm going to be launching that, and I'm going to be doing that whole process live on LinkedIn. And then, of course, it will be a later podcast episode here on Law Subscribed, which I haven't decided what I'm going to call it yet. How to launch a podcast training, something like that. But keep an eye out for that. That will be coming up soon. So for this episode that you're about to listen to, it was also live at LegalGeek this summer of 2025. And I gave the presentation with Brian Potts, and it's called The Culture Shift in the Age of AI. Now, I was really only able to record my side of the conversation, so it is going to be a shorter episode, which is hopefully nice. It'll be a little disjointed at certain parts because I'm skipping ahead from Brian talking and maybe allowing in some of my few interjections that are relevant to you as a listener who likes this idea. But it will not be as smooth as past recordings that I've done of live events. So this is another reason why I wanted to do a special intro for you here. So lots of fun stuff happening. Thanks so much for being a listener. We're almost at the end of the year. And I'll also do like a LinkedIn Live with Law Subscribed Wrapped and talk about what I've learned over the past year and what's to come in 2026. So thanks for being a listener. Here's the episode.
Whether you're a small firm all the way up to a big firm, inside of the firm and how we interact with our clients is changing, right? It's changing because of AI. I mean, we're here today. I didn't actually look at the agenda until about a week ago, and it's all AI here. So whether you're here, you're in the main stage, we're all talking about AI, and that's a big change. But with change comes challenges, right? So we're going to be talking about how through some of the stuff that I'm doing, some of the stuff that Brian is doing, we're trying to help solve for some of those challenges with what we're doing and provide our perspective today, whether it's alternative business models, whether it's mentorship, whether it's both. And really it just comes down to how AI and technology is making those changes. Those changes have been happening for a long time, but AI has just accelerated that. So with that, Brian. Well, Brian, let me ask you a question. And just so everybody knows, this isn't like a pre-planned question. Like we didn't have that much time to talk ahead of this. And this is what I'm all about. So at larger firms, because I have the experience at smaller firms, it's hard to get mentorship inside a firm in particular, because when you're billing by the hour, clients don't necessarily want to double pay for certain work. And so we end up in silos, and it's hard. The business model makes it hard to get mentorship inside your own practice, which is why I've also always got mentorship outside of it before the Legal Mentor Network. I have a question for you, Brian. So you've been at a lot of firms, like you mentioned, at Hush Blackwell being a virtual firm where you're leveraging that technology, because again, how technology is changing culture at firms on a deeply personal level for you personally and your family and personal stuff. Like, what has it done for you as an employee and part business owner of that business to be at a firm that allows you to have a little bit more, it sounds like, flexibility with your schedule than maybe some of the previous firms did? I mean, I've got a virtual practice, but I also started it from scratch, so it's a little bit easier. Yeah, and would you say that doing the virtual mentorship that you've been doing, did that help when you are now at a virtual firm and interacting with colleagues and associates online rather than in person? Last year at LegalGeek, in fact, I met like 5 people who are not attorneys, but on like the IT teams and stuff from Hush Blackwell here at the conference last year. So you're also making sure they're going out and learning more things in addition to just what they're doing working at the office. Yes. Let's see the employment lawyers in the house. Raise your hands. No. And it shows you the hunger for something like that inside of the legal industry. And the technology was there because you were doing it originally. You were just doing it on a spreadsheet. And now I think you're on the second or third platform that's a technological platform that basically automates a lot of that process. And what it also does as a mentor, as I experienced this as a mentor, it gives you suggested things to talk about, suggested deadlines. So now leveraging the technology, you've been able to automate like 90% of the process now. And I've gotten some clients actually because I've had some mentees that happen to know somebody who knew somebody, right? And that's not why I did it, but believe me, it's been worth my time now. So imagine if you could cost affordably engage in, and I mean, Brian, I think there might be some competition on the show floor actually, but they're doing it differently. But you've got some smart attorneys out of Harvard that are also machine learning engineers and are leveraging a combination of generative AI and machine learning AI, doing a bunch of proprietary things in the background. That's a bunch of gobbledygook. That as a background in philosophy and law, I don't fully understand the technical side of it. But ultimately what it comes down to is they're trying to achieve an objective outcome, a truly objective outcome. I mean, we know there's bias in training data, there's bias in these AI tools, but what they've tried to architect is a way to eliminate bias as much as possible. Because let's be real, human judges have bias. Yeah, I guess. This does lead right into my talk. Is that, okay, all right. So, hi everyone. Oh yeah, we have a question. And I'll also say to the mediation point, I've seen different pricing models. And I actually think pricing is my thing, right? I'm a subscription attorney. I'm trying to revolutionize the way lawyers price their legal services, but pricing matters. The way that consumers, and in this instance, what Brian's saying, consumers being the business owners, the general counsel of the companies, paying to use a product like Arbitris or these AI mediation platforms, pricing matters. And I've seen one that says you don't pay unless you settle. Well, at that point, they have no financial incentive to settle, right? So pricing these tools matters for the technologists in the audience. Think about pricing and how you price it and how they pay and what it is, right? And pricing, do you price it too high? Well, maybe they don't want to do it, but maybe they're going to see value there. Did I see another question? Okay. So we'll go into my half of the talk, and I encourage questions as well. So let me know. We have a microphone over there. So if there's questions, feel free to raise your hand. I'm Matthew Curvis. I'm a subscription attorney. I've won some awards. I host a legal tech podcast. And while I've been practicing for over a decade, I founded my firm in March of 2022. So let's talk about, for me, the cultural shift of the business model of law firms, right? AI and the billable hours. Why should we make a change to the billable hour? Because certainly, like what Brian said, we could automate a lot of the non-billable work already. In fact, there are some tech platforms right here at the show floor at ABA Tech Show and a lot of other legal tech companies that reach out to me on LinkedIn to tell them what I think their product is if it's going to succeed or fail. And if they're building around the billable hour, I think we're in a moment that's like when the motor vehicle was invented, when there was still a horse and buggy, right? So if you're building for more efficient time tracking and other things in that market, I mean, it took time for everybody to move from horse and buggy to motor vehicle, but you're building a faster horse and buggy, right? And so there will be money to be made without question, right? Because those are non-billable hours of the billing, the time, the invoicing, all of that stuff. So yes, automate that really fast. But the AI is progressing at such a fast rate that we're going to start to see billable hours be eliminated. I mean, to Brian's point with Arbitris, things that we would maybe spend hours, days, weeks, months on trying to negotiate and resolve a dispute can now be done in the same day. Yeah, yes. And so and I saw some of the talks in there in the main stage. Clients don't want to pay for input. They want to pay for output. They want to pay for value, right? And AI, automations have been changing the game for a long time. And I was using AI when I launched my firm in March of 2022, but it was not very good. There was like machine learning, if this, then that based AI. But when generative AI hit the scene in November of 2022, it was a total game changer because now it's able to actually understand unstructured data and do a lot of the same things. I used to bill 3 hours summarizing deposition transcripts that the partners took. That's a great day. If I just had a couple of transcripts to summarize, now AI does it in a few seconds, right? That work is going, right. But now there is value to doing things faster though, right? If clients are still able to get the same quality of work and faster, it's arguably more valuable in a certain way, in a certain perspective, regardless of how much time it takes, right? Now, on the other side of it, in particular down market, which is where I've gone, and stick around for my next presentation at 1:30 where I talk a little bit more about the legal market, but there's a massive market opportunity down market. And it never really made sense to bill by the hour for those cases, to Brian's point. But when you're automating things and you're leveraging AI to do 90%, 95% of the heavy lifting, there's still value in that last mile, that last 5 to 10%, and clients want transparency. Who here likes paying someone by the hour? Can any lawyers here afford their own hourly rates if they really had to, right? So you demand price transparency when you're a consumer of something. So do your clients for everything else. Now, AI makes that easier than ever. It makes it easier because it helps you do the work better and faster. But if you don't know how to price your services, AI can help you, right? So like AI helps in two regards there. So I make the prediction that in 5 years, the billable hour will be gone, basically. It could be next year. Does anyone here know about exponential growth curves? Anybody? Exponential growth curves? So if you were to ask Perplexity Pro, which could do math, or if you know how to do exponential math, ask it how many times do you have to fold a piece of paper like this in half, so constant doubling over and over and over again until it encompasses the circumference of the earth. Think about what that number might be. It's doubling. That's exponential growth. Well, it turns out the answer is 42 times, which is probably smaller than you think. And the reason why is with exponential growth and exponential doubling, the most doubling happens in like the last 4 doubles, right? That's where it encompasses more than half of the earth in those last 4 doubles, right? So we are in the middle of an exponential growth curve. So the time savings right now that we're getting for billable tasks is only going to continue to increase at this exponential growth curve, right? So it's unsustainable as a business model. Now, there might be a 5-year transition period for institutional clients and institutional law firms that have a lot of sunk costs and billers and bill evaluators, like think insurance companies, right? Where they've got all these sunk costs into, well, we've invested this time and energy and effort into being better billers or evaluating bills or knocking down bills. So I think we've got 5 years realistically, but after that, you start planning today. I think so. And the other thing is to stick in the context of the cultural change and transformation. So I host this podcast, Law Subscribed. I have thousands of listeners. I've got tens of thousands of downloads over 3 years. Haven't quite broken 100,000 yet, but it's a niche podcast. Who's looking for subscription legal services podcasts? But I get reached out to by big firm attorneys, mostly associates, a few partners, who are, I get reached out to by in-house counsel that are sick and tired of the grind and want to leave to start their own efficient, alternative, fee-based, AI-powered practice. What's the opportunity cost? Well, potentially making partner in millions of dollars, right? Because the other thing is Damian Reel, who I think he was here last year, but I don't see him here this year. He says it's hard to tell millionaires that their business model is broken, right? I agree with that so much, right? Yeah, go ahead. Let's ask a question. Yeah, I know. I really appreciate the comment that it's going faster than you think. And it's hard to conceive because we, like humans, we live linear lives, right? So like thinking exponentially isn't a natural thing for us, but the technology is moving faster and faster. And the clients, right? Talk about the cultural relationship between lawyers and clients. Clients don't want to reach out to you if they're being billed by the hour. But when you leverage these technology tools, these efficiency tools, AI, to be fast and efficient, like look here at the site, immediate tech-enhanced client service, leveraging a tool that I'll talk about in my next talk called Notebook LM. It's a Google product. Using Notebook LM Pro, I was able to go through a 600-plus page document, a franchise disclosure document with a client who scheduled a 15-minute call. And during that call, we went through the document, and thanks to semantic search, if Notebook LM, we were able to find the answer to his question in that 15-minute call. I mean, unbelievable, right? What used to maybe take hours and hours, and now that client's happy, so they stay subscribed, right? So instead of and I was trying to figure out how do you present this to the world, this cultural shift of working with an AI enhanced lawyer, and that's the term I came to, AI enhanced, right? Now, eventually that's going to fall out of favor, because imagine if you're out there promoting yourself, I'm an internet lawyer, I'm online, I use electricity, right? But right now, I think what that tells clients, because I have lawyers who ask me, they're like, oh, are you worried your clients, they're like, you're using AI, aren't they worried about that? It's like, no, they hire me because I'm using AI, because that makes my services more affordable. And when I was just getting started and AI was not in like the common sphere, I did lose some clients who thought, oh, you're the affordable lawyer. I don't want the other side, because all my prices are on my website. I don't want the other side to think like I can't afford a big expensive lawyer. But now they don't care, because they know that they're getting the savings, because I'm able to do things at a fraction of the time that it used to take, leveraging a lot of AI tools. So why the subscription model? This is important, because you hear a lot about fixed fees, but fixed fees have been an option for law firms for a long time. And certain practice areas, trademarks, estate planning, criminal law, like you've had practices that have adopted fixed fees, but you haven't for the rest of the industry.
Let me tell you about the brand new sponsor for Law Subscribed, Paxton. I've been using Paxton as my legal AI tool for over 2 years. I continue to evaluate and demo other legal AI tools in the market, and still decide to stick with Paxton because of its reliability, its accuracy, its ease of use, affordability, and they do not lock you into a long-term contract. Now, as a transactional and fractional general counsel attorney, I'm using Paxton for all of my substantive and non-substantive legal work, whether that's legal research, analysis, drafting, or enhancing existing legal work product. In the time it used to take me to draft and analyze legal documents, now, after a little bit of back and forth with Paxton, I have something ready to go in minutes that used to take hours or even days. While I'm no longer a litigator, I could see how valuable Paxton would be when researching a new issue, preparing for a deposition, drafting a motion, or going to trial. So if your firm would benefit from using Paxton as your legal AI tool, then make sure to use the link in the description when signing up to let Paxton know I sent you. That's all about our new sponsor. Now back to the show.
And a true alternative fee, by the way, you don't track hours at all. And if you do track time, and this is, I think, the pivot, if those companies are listening that do automated time tracking out there, what you do if you are transitioning from time, right, yeah. There's some more too. There's some more too who are here and they're not like exhibiting, but they're here. You transition, if you're transitioning from billable hour to alternative fee, and you stop tracking time eventually. In the beginning, during that transition, talking about a cultural shift in the business model, when you're tracking time, it's not how long did that take? Oh, this cost me this much. It's no. That's not how you value your services. It's you figure out what is it worth to the client, or what are they willing to pay? And oh, this task took me an hour that didn't cost me $500. The mindset shift is, the cultural shift is, how do I make that take 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 minute, automated? I don't even need to touch that task. So when you're making that transition, you want to track your time to see how could I spend less time, because when the cultural shift of billable hours to alt fees, it's less time equals more money. Let's say that one more time. Less time equals more money in alternative fees. But subscription covers the worry about the underscoping, overscoping problem of the fixed fee. What happens if it goes for longer? What happens if it's too short and the client feels like they got taken advantage of? Well, with the subscription model, guess what? If it takes longer, when that next month or quarter or year or whatever rolls around, you're still getting paid. So there are so many examples, and I don't know if we have enough time to go through all of them. But the way that I have two versions that I do for my firm. So I'll talk about my firm. There's a lot of ways to do it. I have the entry-level $20 a month subscription. That's like a Costco membership, right? Or an Amazon Prime membership. First, you become a subscriber or a member, and then you get access to all the deals. Now, the deals are $50 a page, right? Which scales better than you think. And negotiation subscription add-ons. Once there's a dispute, it's another $200 a month during that dispute. Once the dispute is resolved, maybe it's a 5-page settlement and release agreement. So I'm making $50 a page on that. $200 a month comes off, right? And I've more or less automated all this billing, leveraging non-legal tech tools, because legal tech doesn't design for where the practice is going. It designs for where the practice is. But then my favorite clients, my preferred clients, and I do get them up the ladder from $20 a month, $50 a page up, are paying $500, $1,000, $2,500 a month, where I'm just working on so many legal projects for them a month, 5, 10 legal projects a month, and I do custom pricing too. And it doesn't matter how many pages it is. So the incentive is we stop counting pages. So, 2-page non-disclosure agreement, 20-page master services agreement, those each count as a project. But I only do legal research for the project paying subscribers. So that's a benefit that they only get if they are going to subscribe at a higher monthly level. Now, some billable hour lawyers might think, oh, well, you're leaving money on the table because you could actually make more money charging per page. But I'm thinking about lifetime value. I'm thinking about having that client subscribe for the next 10 to 20 years. So I don't need to maximize profit in the short term, I need to maximize profit in the long term. And when you have a billable hour mindset, you're trying to maximize profit in the short term instead of thinking about lifetime value. And I do focus on accessibility, by the way, because I think there's a big market opportunity there. But there's market opportunity up market. So talking about these cultural shifts as we start to wrap up here, you're moving from time-based billing culture, right, with a reactive relationship where the client doesn't call you until they have a really bad legal problem that they tried to solve by themselves and they screwed it up. And legal services is a luxury. Right? The World Justice Project says only 20 to 23% of legal services are being met, and that's old data. It's probably less than that now. The number's probably smaller. And the shift that we're moving to in this AI-powered world, right, is value-based pricing, tech-enabled pricing, right, where you're using the technology to deliver higher value faster, and frankly, using the tech to help you figure out what is this worth. Right? You could use the power of personas. You can say, I'm a solo practice attorney that's a tech-enabled law firm in this market, and my ideal client profile is this. What should I charge for a subscription fee? What should my rates be? And at least it will get you thinking. And I know there are pricing consultants out there who don't want to hear me say that, but that's you could use these AI tools, whichever one you prefer, to do that. And now what you do is your clients are paying you every month. So they want to maximize their subscriber benefits. What happens if you don't go to shop enough at Costco or use Amazon Prime benefits? You unsubscribe. But they reach out to you. They want to maximize their benefits because they pay at the beginning of the month or the term or the quarter or the year or whatever. So they want to get what they paid for. So they reach out to you before there's a problem. So I'm in the problem avoiding business for my clients. As far as fee shifting is concerned, some of that comes down to what's allowed in the rules of professional conduct for each jurisdiction for where the attorney is licensed. And I'll tell you what Illinois is doing is, because I'm an Illinois licensed attorney, I only practice Illinois law. What we did 2 years ago, actually I found out about it at the first LegalGeek, is we expressly allowed our rule on fees 1.5 to permit alternative fees. But a lot of lawyers didn't adopt the alternative fees. And why? Because exactly this question where they were concerned about, well, what about fee shifting statutes or provisions in arbitration contracts and other things? And so now we have a new rule, Rule 300, that goes into effect next month that says if you use one of the alternative fees, you are able to recover it, and you don't have to track hours or show time. So Illinois, our regulators are our Supreme Court. So the Illinois Supreme Court has been proactive in this to try to account for this problem. But it is a problem, and there will be a transition period. Like I said, 5 years is my estimate. So when you go down market and you automate, your ability to scale and serve more clients actually goes up, right? So not only are you just skipping to the last line here, are you earning more to help pay down those 6-figure student loans, which I am very close to getting rid of, but you're also helping close the access to justice gap. Now, the World Justice Project says that 77% of needs go unmet or more at this point, but those are known legal needs, right? I was giving a talk at a family law conference about AI and the subscription model. Does a victim of domestic violence know that his or her problem is a legal problem? But it is. I mean, it's other problems too, but it is. But people don't even know their problem is a legal problem. Well, now what if they had affordable access to a lawyer that they could ask questions to about their problem because they're used to reaching out to their lawyer about things? It just totally shifts the dynamic, right? So you're serving that market at an affordable rate. And the great thing about subscription pricing too is if somebody's taking more of your time, that's what subscription tiers are for. Oh, you were a level 1 client. You signed up as a level 1. You're really level 3, right? You're level 3, right? So you get them up the level depending on their actual needs. So you can serve, and sometimes people can afford legal services. They just need pricing certainty, even if they could afford a higher rate. Yeah, we got a question. Right. So I get this question a lot too. And again, I'm a solo practice attorney, but I also have coached law firms and I've helped law firms. Begrudgingly, I like practicing law, and lawyers don't make great clients, no offense. So every other industry does it, right? You're just used to evaluating lawyers based on how many hours they do. Now what you're going to be evaluating is what's the value that they're giving to clients, and are the clients that they're serving staying subscribed? What's the client retention? That becomes a way to evaluate. But if you could tell me what's the cost of delivering legal services, I could tell you what's the cost of delivering legal services pretty easily. There's not a lot of steps. How does Starbucks price a cup of coffee? It's a heck of a lot more complicated with international logistics and farming. And so how do they know how to evaluate and pay their employees? It's way more complicated for them than it is for service-based professionals. You just haven't done it before. But it's not about hours billed. In fact, if you can get all your work done and your clients and the clients that you're serving are all happy and they're staying subscribed, or they're going up to higher subscription tiers because you're able to pump out a lot of value more efficiently and faster, I don't care if you work 4 days a week or 4 hours a day, as long as you're getting the work done and having happy clients. You can measure results, and sometimes the results are out of our hand with a judge or a jury or arbitress in the future, but you can measure results. You don't just have to see how long did something take. And when you start switching the mindset from billing time to alternative fees, it's how much time did that take? How can you make that take less time? That's how you're evaluating that. You spent too much time on that. Well, let's figure out how to make that take less time. So sort of like Brian, I'm on a mission, a separate mission. I'm trying to drive change. I have podcasts. If you go to MatthewKurbis.com, my name.com, you'll see where I'm a guest on all these legal podcasts, or I've done CLEs like this. As you see, I have a microphone here. I'm recording this. This will eventually be up there later, though I wait at least 6 months to post it because I want people to come and do the CLEs. There's like David said, the CEO of LawAlign, I have courses on LawAlign if you wanted to dive deeper into this topic. So yeah, go ahead. Absolutely, because when you're not billing by the hour, what happens? You're incentivized to work together as a team, going back to the collaboration standpoint earlier, which is why mentorship is important, right? Now you're not billing by the hour on something, and maybe you can work together on something, they'll get it done faster, right? What does that also mean? Reduced burnout. On my podcast, Law Subscriber, I interview attorneys who have ditched the billable hour and have a subscription-based, alternative fee-based firm. Most of them, women attorneys and attorneys of color. That they were not rewarded for their efficiency, and so they had to go off and do something on their own. Really, I follow in their footsteps for doing what I do, right? We overcome the labor shortage. How hard is it to hire lawyers, right? Well, when you can scale without more hiring because you have an alternative fee and you're leveraging these tools, that changes the nature of the dynamic at a firm, right? And eventually, I mean, the UK, this is a UK conference. There are some industries that have completely moved to 4-day work weeks in the UK. That's coming to the US too, right? So my final points, technology is an opportunity, not a threat, right? In my opinion, I think not just any alternative fee subscriptions can help transform legal practice. And this cultural change, right, is key to meeting client needs and thriving as a lawyer. So with that, we don't really have too much time for discussion, but I'm here, I have another presentation, so. Let's do this. There's our contact information. If you want to reach out to us, we're available. We're also here. So any final words? And thank you to LawAlign and thank you to LegalGeek.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in. Make someone's day by sharing this episode with them. The best way to get in touch is to follow and message me on LinkedIn. To get extra content, subscribe to the newsletter at www.lawsubscribe.com, where you can also become a paid subscriber to get episodes and content early. Until next time, this is Matthew Kurbis with Law Subscribed.